So today we are going to be talking about the images in our past lives. So the question today comes from Brianna. Brianna messaged me, and I'm going to read to you her message, and we'll take it from there. So this is what she said. Hello, Mira. I recently went for a past life regression, but then realized I don't have any visualization when I close my eyes. It's been tough to get that to reopen. I believe my guides were there for me, healing like an intense Reiki, but how will I know if I tried a past life regression again that it would work? How can I open up my crown? And then she lovingly said, I love all of your stories, and everything you have posted on your page is so beautiful. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, my love. I'm so grateful that you reached out so that I can share on this question. All right, so first of all, let me celebrate you and everyone who is interested in past life regression, because regression is an amazing way for us to quantum leap, for us to see the bigger picture of our soul, for us to step outside of the normal matrix of reality and see the bigger picture. So just being interested in regression, I'm here to tell you, understanding past lives is one of the triggers, which not understanding, being interested, believing in past lives is actually one of the triggers that triggers, I know it's a funny repetition of words, that triggers the next level of our spiritual development. It really allows for the blending of our higher self with our normal, walking, everyday soul self. So I just want to celebrate you with this one. You're already in a greater, more expansive spiritual place just because you are open to past lives. So amazing. Well done. Now let's get into, and now how do you actually see your past lives? Obviously, people spontaneously have and experience past lives. That's why we're so fascinated by the stories of children who automatically experience memories of having other lifetimes. We love those stories. I have a lot to say on that, but we'll save that for another video. The more certain way, in other words, you can really trigger an experience is through a past life regression, and obviously this is something that I'm very well known for. So now here's the thing. It always is so hard for me when people say, I worked with this past life regressionist and I didn't see anything. What was the problem, right? It's so hard for me because it wasn't me. It wasn't a person that I have trained. Yeah, I do train people how to do past life regressions. I wasn't there. So it's always so hard for me to answer and be like, well, this is the tweak you gotta make, right? Do you understand? But let's do our best. So there are many different ways for people to receive information in their past life regressions. One of them is obviously through visual images. Another is through feelings. Another is through knowingness. So visual is not the only way, okay? So if in a normal state of so here is an example. If in a normal state of you living your life and somebody asking you to visualize something, if you have a hard time doing it, please do not expect that during a past life regression you're going to effortlessly visualize, okay? So the people who have an easy access to imagining things, to visually bringing up pictures in our minds, when we talk about manifesting and visualization to bring up images, if that's easy for you, if that comes through naturally, chances are during a regression, that ability, that channel of receiving information will kick in naturally for you as well. If it's not the case, please don't push it, don't worry about it. instead trust how information comes for you, because for other people the information comes through the other senses, knowingness, feeling. For example, I know of someone who, rather than teaching visualization, she teaches something she calls feelingization. In other words, she's saying to people, if you cannot visualize, in order to manifest what you're looking to experience and to bring about in your life, just focus on the feeling. Focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So if this works for you, then chances are during your regression experience, feeling is going to be your way. Okay? For other people, it's simple knowingness. They just know. So please do not pressure yourself and stress yourself out thinking that during a regression it must be a visual experience. It doesn't have to be. Whatever the channel of information for you to most naturally receive information in your everyday life is how information will come through for you here as well. Okay? I really hope this makes sense for you. Now, I have to tell you, there is a huge difference between a regression and regression. There's also, of course, I'm not going to toot my own horn. I want to stay humble with you guys. There's also a difference in the experience of working with one person and another person and another person, right? There's a difference between a master and somebody who is just reading a script for you. So please keep that in mind. But not only that, but you're also tapping into this person's belief system. So if I were you, I'll be even more careful in choosing who I actually allow to mess with my psyche. I've never come straight out and spoken about this because, you know, I always come from a place of, well, let people choose. Everybody's attracted to whatever serves them best. But you gotta understand, you are opening up yourself to being guided. So who are you being guided by? Do you admire the person? Do you trust the person? Keep that in mind. Past life regression is not just a process, because, you know, there is a difference between having McDonald's and having a Michelin 3-star course meal, you know, sampler meal. So same thing about you choosing the person you work with, okay? Yeah, they're both food. Yeah, they'll both do the job of filling up your belly. But what is the experience like, right? Does one leave you sick and depleted and the other one filled up with memories? So keep that in mind, all right? Okay, so now let's go back to actually solving Brianna's problem. So here are 2 ways that I want to suggest for you to connect with visual images during a past life regression. The very first one is for you during the process of regression to actually allow yourself to imagine. So imagination will become the very active part, the pathway that gets you there, the rope that pulls you through, and in the fog and the mist shows you the way. So I can very clearly remember the very first time when this became so clear to me. I was working with a woman who came and said, I'm here because I'm terrified of losing my son. She had a son, and she was contemplating the potential of filing for a divorce and separating from her husband. However, she was really petrified at the possibility of losing her son. And so that's really what was stopping her. She didn't want to lose custody. Now, here's what's so interesting. In her terror, she was not even considering that there could be a split custody. She was just immediately going to the worst case scenario of the worst thing that could possibly happen. And so she came and she said, I want to clear this fear because I want to move on in my life. I'm ready for the separation from my husband. And yet the child being with me and staying with me and being mine is really what is keeping me here. So she was saying to me, I want to see if there is a past life issue here and I want to clear it. So that was her objective. Now, you have to understand that I never judge people's objectives, right? Their dream and their desire is their dream and their desire. I'm here to guide. I'm here to help. I'm here to help them elevate to the next level, whatever that next level is for them. So we begin the past life regression, me and this woman. And because the intense desire to have an experience, to shift this, is so palpable within her, she's getting in her own way. Now, I have done this too. I have been there where I have actually stopped myself from having an experience because I was just, too needy for the outcome to come through. And so I've been in her shoes. So here's what I said to her. What if you just, so she was, and so as I'm guiding her to connect with other lifetimes, she's saying to me nothing. It's just black. I don't see anything. And so I started giving her things to imagine. And so I was assuring her and telling her, sometimes imagination is the way that gets us there. So just talk, just please talk. Don't hold back thinking, is this real? Is this going to unlock it for me? Is this helpful? Just imagine and just talk. Because here's what happens, you guys. At a certain point, that visual, that imagination turns into an experience, okay? And so she started talking, and so what started happening is she was imagining, and then I just kept saying to her, if you were to imagine anything else, what would you imagine? So I was very actively asking her to imagine. And so she started talking to me about, well, I'm imagining a snowstorm. I'm imagining people walking through the snowstorm. And she just kept talking, right? She just kept talking. And so the story all of a sudden developed. All of a sudden it kicked into its own process. You see, oftentimes when people, this happens oftentimes with some people who are just not trusting themselves, okay? So Brianna, this is probably a piece of what's going on with you, the not trusting yourself. So what happens with people is they will get the visual of the past life, and then they'll say, well, nothing else is coming through, right? They'll question it, they'll doubt it, they'll be like, this is nothing. Then we'll circle around, we'll go digging, we'll go exploring, I'll work harder for them to connect with other lives. And we arrive at the same place now that they're more willing to go with it, right? Now that they're like, okay, I don't need to be stubborn, I can let this be easy. And they allow things to flow. And all of a sudden we're back at the same place we started at, and then they tell me the whole story, right? So just go with it, go with it, go with it. Don't hold back, don't stop yourself. And so with this woman, all of a sudden it developed as a story of how she was a woman in this life, a tribe that was moving location and trying to escape a snowstorm that surprised them. And how they found a shelter in a cave, and she was in a panicking state, going through the people who were in this cave. And she was saying, where's my son? Where's my son? Where's my son? Where's my son? And the panicky feeling of I lost him, and the realization that she lost him in the snowstorm. And so this cathartic emotional experience really left her crying, really left her releasing and shedding so much. And our regression allowed her to understand emotionally, not logically, because you guys, the power of my work is emotional transformation. Because I can sit and, I could have sat with this woman and I could have been like, listen, what you're afraid of is so not logical, so not doesn't make sense. I can tell you, you're gonna get half custody at the very least, right? At the very most, if your husband is not interested, the child is yours, right? So she could not have heard that because within her, the emotional trigger was profoundly real and painful. So the power of my work is the ability to move people emotionally so that they feel for themselves differently and they viscerally know it to the core of their being. The other day, I was talking to a client who had previously struggled with unworthiness in her work. And so she tells me, I experienced a past life. So she had worked with one of my recordings, and she said, I experienced a past life where I was this ruler of this community of people, this group of people. I was their king. And not only did I rule with love and certainty and strength and power, but when I died, people really missed me. People really appreciated me. And so she took all this power from this life, and this woman showed up so differently. She was telling me of all the extraordinary things that were happening in her business as a result of her unlocking this level of confidence, personal power, certainty. Now, I could have sat there and I could have told her, your work is worth it. You are worth it. And yet she felt it. And nothing could keep her away from that feeling now, right? Nothing could take that away from her. Now it was hers. That's what I mean. Don't mess up with people who you don't trust, who you don't admire as past life regressionists. Does this make sense to you? The guidance is extremely important. The question, the search, because you're really allowing yourself to be impressed upon. So what do you want to be impressed by? We'll do this as a life some other time. And so let's go back to the woman who was so terrified of losing her son. So here's what happened. She came out of the regression emotionally shifted like nothing could shift her, nothing else could shift her. And she said, I'm good. I feel certain, I feel confident, I feel relief, I feel renewed, I feel this burden lifted off my shoulders. She was like, I'm good, I can do this. And so sure enough, she proceeded with the separation, and last I heard, she was done with that fear of losing her son, because she realized that it was not this life, that the threat is not real. The conscious mind had a story to hold on and to navigate with, the emotion, and to say, this is not mine, this is not mine, I can let it go. The emotions were shifted, so she was like, okay, let's do this. So the emotional power of this work, past life regression, is really what I love profoundly. So to circle back to where all of this began, please go with what shows up. Ask of yourself, imagine, 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 because then it's going to open up into a whole another level of experience. Don't hold back. Now, if even after you imagine nothing shows up, here's your second tip. What people do is they listen to one of my recorded past life regressions while they're in bed right before falling asleep. So they are in a comfortable position, the lights are off, they're done for the day, and they're just listening to the induction, the relaxation, to me getting to the point of saying to them, now we're going into another life. Now, they're not asking of themselves to stay alert for the whole regression experience. They give themselves permission to fall asleep while listening to the recording. And that's what the suggestion is. That's what the tip is. Listen to the recording and let the recording get you to fall asleep. And so as you do that also, though, you got to do it intentionally, okay? Intention is the mother of all outcomes. So set the intention that as you listen to the recording, as you fall asleep, you will have an experience, and then you will wake up and you will remember in your dreams the experience of a past life that you had. Okay, so that's what we are doing. We're using the natural ability to experience stories in your dreams, and we're using that for you to connect with other lifetimes, because we naturally connect with other lifetimes in our dreams. And we're going to ask that you actually remember the dream. So that's the second tip. And I really know that playing with these two will actually get you results. I hear from people, especially the second one about dreams, I hear from people saying, this worked for me, so I know that this is available for you. If you feel that you're not succeeding with just letting go and continuing imagining during an alert and conscious past life regression. So let me know in the comments, how have you dealt with the experience of not having visual images in your past lives? I would love to learn from you. I would love to hear what has worked for you. And please remember, it's always, every regression, it's its own standalone separate experience. So just because you had one experience, don't let that define the other experiences you can potentially have. Let's see if there's anything else that I can share on this one. Trust yourself. That's really it. Trust yourself and know that in the moment you show up, the guidance will show up, the answers will show up. I was flying from Chicago to LA yesterday, and I did something. I just placed my hand on my heart. I asked my subconscious a question, and sure enough, the answer came right through. So now I have trained myself to trust myself, and that's really what I'm asking of you and suggesting to you as well. Trust yourself. Know that the guidance is always there. The answers are always there, and transformation can be really, really, really quick. I look forward to connecting tomorrow. I am super excited for you guys to ask your questions, to give me your input, anything you share in your DMs or in the past life regression group. I am excited to answer as a question. As you can tell, I'm loving this style of connecting with you. Rob, I am so super excited for your past life regression as well. Rob is saying, I'm looking forward to experiencing my first past life regression. Thank you, thank you. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Thank you for being spiritual rock stars, because to me you're willing to, as I was saying to you at first, you're willing to see life in an expanded way, to step outside of the matrix of conventional beliefs and expectations and conventional life. And remember, the belief of past life, the belief of reincarnation, the experience of reincarnation is actually what triggers spiritual growth. So that's why I'm saying to you, you guys are my rock stars. I love you too. I will be seeing you tomorrow. I look forward to our next live tomorrow. Have an amazing evening, you guys.